So this is going to be the TEAS standard for an individual trying to protect a design on their logo using the standard application. And again, this is assuming the product is already, so the goods are already being sold using the logo. So this is what we call an actual use application. Quick reminder, intent to use applications mean that you're not yet selling your goods or services using the mark, but you intend to in the future. And so the intent to use application gives you an opportunity to protect the mark before you invest in all the branding. So you have some assurances that you'll actually be able to get a registered trademark once you do start using the mark in commerce. The actual use applications, which is the ones that we're going to do today and the ones that we have been doing in these past few episodes, assume that you already are selling the goods and services. So your goods and services are already out in the marketplace. And so in this video, we're going to do a step-by-step how you actually go about submitting a trademark application for your good or service that's already on the market. So just as a quick example, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to open this link in a new tab. So in this hypothetical, this is the good that we're selling as an individual. So it's a face mask and it has our logo in the upper right corner. And again, it's stitched to the actual good. So this would be an acceptable specimen. Now, we've done content in the past just all about specimens, how to prepare specimens for goods and how to prepare specimens for services. So in this case, the stitch label is actually fixed to the clothing and it has the design that we're going to submit. So let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is you're going to want to go to USPTO.gov and then go to trademarks and then file trademark forms. Now, if that's hard to remember, that's all good. Just go to Google and then just search USPTO trademark and apply, and that'll do it. And it'll be the first non-ad hit right here. So apply online. So once you click on the apply online, it's going to take you to this page, same page as this one that we're over here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on initial application forms. And then you're going to want to click start your application in TEAS. TEAS is the electronic filing system for the trademark applications. So once we click start your application in TEAS, we're going to scroll down. And today we're going to click the standard. So yesterday we did the plus application. So the one before yesterday was the plus. Today we're going to do the standard. So the standard is going to be $50 more. See, it's $275 instead of $225. But in my opinion, it's well worth the extra $50, really, because it just gives you so much latitude as to how you can describe your goods and services. You're not limited to the canned descriptions that the TEAS Plus application provides you. So we're going to click the standard, and we're going to do it from the perspective of an individual. So when we hit continue, we're going to be taken to the owner section page where we actually say the name of the individual. So in this case, I'm going to be doing it from the perspective of me individually. And when I click individual, I'm going to have to indicate citizenship. So I'll select my citizenship, and then I'll scroll down and put my mailing address in. Now, remember, this is all going to be public information. So just keep that in mind. And it'll be public the moment we submit. So remember, you're going to want to remember that when you're doing this. If you're a public figure or have a public persona, you may want to have a PO box and keep this confidential. So they remind you of that actually right here very clearly. The entered email address is publicly viewable on TSDR database, and so what you need to provide is an address capable of receiving mail. So I generally recommend just do a PO box if you're concerned about this. And then down below, you can provide your domicile address. Now, the domicile address will be kept confidential. So says the trademark office. So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to scroll down. We're going to enter in our email address. Now, I generally recommend to not put your phone number here just because it's another data point where people can possibly access it. It's all public information. So in the past, I haven't entered a phone number in here. Now, website address, again, this is optional. When we hit continue, though, I just want to point out we're going to get a notification, a warning saying, hey, you didn't enter in your phone number. Again, it's just a warning. The application will still go forward, and it will still be considered filed, even with this particular warning. So just keep that in mind. And remember that the trademark office has your email address, so they will be able to communicate with you over email. So once we hit continue, now we're going to get to the part where we're going to actually have an opportunity to upload our trademark. So we're going to click on Special Form, and then we're going to click Choose File. And then select it. So I prepped the file beforehand. Awesome, thank you. So images have to be can be no less than 250 pixels in any dimension and no greater than 944 pixels in any dimension. So what I generally recommend is I like to have a nice big logo. So if it's a lengthwise logo like this one, what I do is I make it so that lengthwise I max it out to 944 pixels. So what you're going to see later in this video is when we see the pixel dimensions, you're going to see that it's 944 pixels in width. Now, if it was a height-wise logo, then what I would do is I would make it height-wise. I would make it 944 pixels. And of course, you're going to want to keep the aspect ratio. You don't want it to look bad, right? So make sure you keep the aspect ratio so that it actually stays looking good. Another thing I'll point out is that I always recommend doing a black and white. You don't necessarily want to claim color as a feature of the mark, so I usually upload a grayscale. What I want to remind you guys, though, is that it is possible to file color and claim color as a feature of the mark, but my perspective is why be so limiting? Why be so narrow? It's better to be broad and not limit yourself to just a particular color if possible. And again, JPEGs or PDFs. I don't make the mistake that I've made in the past of uploading a PNG. You're going to want to upload a JPEG. So going back, we're going to see that it's attached because it shows up right here, so we know it worked out. Now, in this text box here, you're going to have to enter in the literal elements of the mark. So in this case, we're just going to type in adibiip group, and then protecting oh, it's already good. Auto text. So that is the literal text of the mark. Now remember, I'm not going to claim color as a feature of the mark, so I'm going to check this box right here. Then down below, it prompts me to describe what the mark actually consists of. So in this case, we're going to say the large about stylized text, stylized text of the words adibiip group, having a molecular structure design above and smaller stylized text of the words protecting innovators below. Now, remember, they're going to add the period for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about entering that. But there's our description of the mark, and we're going to go ahead and click continue. Now, this is the part where we get to really leverage the power of the TEAS standard application. See, the TEAS standard application allows you to enter free-form text. So we're going to click entering free-form text, and then we're going to click add goods / services. So in this case, we're going to do class 25. I've had this conversation in the past about whether or not face masks qualify under class 25 because they do, in a sense, have some protective qualities. But my feeling about this is that really they're cloth-based masks, and so they aren't really intended for industrial protective use or for use in the medical setting. And so that's why I would consider face masks to be under class 25. Now, of course, that's up to dispute, and there might even be some trademark examiners that would actually require you to have it in class 9 or even in class 10, which is for medical setting. So, I mean, I think that's a point of opinion. But for this particular purpose and for this particular case of videos, I'm going to assume that they're under class 25. So we're going to say clothing and apparel, namely face masks. for use on the, actually, I'll just say, I'll just keep it nice and broad, namely face masks. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. Now remember, if you had other clothing, you could obviously add that as well. Now we're going to do section 1A filing. And remember, one thing I want to point out is that this is a section 1A application. So you have to indicate two very important dates, and you have to provide what's called a specimen. The specimen, as you guys know, and that we have prior content on, the specimen is a proof that you're actually using the mark to sell the goods and services that you said you're selling up here, okay? So if we scroll down, we're going to go ahead and click attach and remove specimen. Now remember, I prepared the specimen beforehand, but just to give you guys a quick a recap, this is the specimen. This is the specimen that I'm going to submit. So it's just an image. It shows the good. So this is the face mask, and it shows an example of the logo that's stitched to the face mask. So we're going to click attach. So we're going to attach that JPEG. And remember, the same rules apply, JPEG or PDF. So we're going to click choose file, and then I'm going to select our specimen. So our specimen is attach, and then I'm going to click attach after it shows up here, and only until it shows up in blue, file uploaded, and we have this notification do we know that it was successful. So status, it's been uploaded. Then we can click return to form. So we're going to click the return to form button. It's going to take us back to the application. Now, once we're here, we have to describe what the specimen is. So I'm going to say it's a photograph showing the identified goods with a label fixed to the goods bearing the applied for mark. It's a fancy way of saying got a label on the corner with our logo. Now, the date of first use anywhere, this is the date that you first started using the logo in any capacity. So this could be the date that you first put it on your website, first day you put it on your LinkedIn, your Instagram, first day you posted about it on social. It's the date that you first put the mark out into the world. Some people like to use the date they purchase their domain name and put their website up. The second date is important that you get it right. This is the date that you first started using the mark to sell goods and services in commerce. Now, that in commerce part of that describes what's called, basically, to be conservative, it should involve sales to out-of-state customers. So just keep that in mind. What I generally recommend is that you're going to want to use the date that you first started selling to out-of-state customers. So we're based in California. So what I would do here for this day is I would pick the date that I first sold a face mask to a customer in Oregon, for example, or Nevada, or just some foreign state or country. Interstate commerce. So the reason why that's important is that because it has to involve federal law. So because again, this is a federal registration of a trademark. Now, date of first use of the mark anywhere. Again, I'm just going to make up some date. You do not don't make up the date. Make sure it's actually correct and accurate. Remember, this is a sworn application that you're swearing by at the very end. So you're going to want to make sure that these dates are accurate. Now, what I generally also recommend is I generally recommend for the date of use in commerce that you actually find a receipt that corroborates this date, right? And then make sure that you stow that date away, and make sure that you keep that that proof handy, just in case a dispute does ever arise with regard to your mark. So we're going to click assign filing basis, and once we click assign filing basis, we're almost actually done with the entire application. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. Now, in this part, we're going to have an opportunity to enter in our docket number and also other email addresses that we want to receive notifications from the trademark office about our application. So for the docket, I'm going to pick, I'm going to do AVA T08. Again, one thing I want to emphasize is you're not actually required to enter a docket or reference number, but I like to enter one just because it helps us stay organized. And we have a whole ton of trademark applications that we handle for clients. And so docket numbers are extremely important and help us stay organized. For the email addresses, I like to enter in Victoria's email address, but what I generally recommend doing is enter any assistant, coworker, colleague, anyone that's on your team that you want to make sure it stays informed and understands what's going on with the trademark process, right? So if I get a notification, I might miss it, but if Victoria is also on here, then it's less likely that we'll miss it. She'll bring it up to me, we'll discuss it, we'll calendar it. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And then this final section, we're actually going to be able to sign digitally to validate the application. And again, these are sworn statements that you're making. So the first one is that you're saying that you understand this is a Section 1A application. So you're already using your mark to sell your goods or services. So that's what this first checkbox is saying. So this is a Section 1A application. The second is saying that to our best of our knowledge, there isn't some other party that has the rights to this mark. This third checkbox is saying that there's factual support for the statements that we make. And this fourth checkbox is saying that we're signing under penalty of perjury. So we understand that false statements could subject us to fine or imprisonment. The signature is really convenient. You can just literally enter in your name within slashes. They make it really easy. You don't have to sign or scan anything. The date sign automatically gets filled once you click the box. For name, again, I like to enter in last name, comma, first name, middle initial, and then position. I like to just do owner if it's an individual. You can also do holder. They give you some suggestions down here. So you can do owner/holder or just holder. And then you do have to enter in your phone number. So this is the one area where they do require it. So once we click validate, we're home free. Where application is prepped. All we have to do is go to this final page and review it. Make sure all the information is correct before we go ahead and hit submit. So we're going to go click on input, and we're actually going to review the application once before we actually submit. Date of use anywhere and date of first use in commerce, very important dates. Remember, I suggest you have evidence that can corroborate the first date that you sold to an out-of-state customer. That's the most conservative approach. So once we click back, we're almost done. The application looks good. We can click the mark tab just to see how the mark is actually going to show up on their system. Looks good to me. And then specimen, if you click on specimen, it'll take you to this page that has this link. If we click this link, it would pop up a dialog, and that dialog would show the specimen. Again, this is our specimen here, just a photograph showing the mark with the stitched label having our logo. So this application looks good to go. Three quick things. Just if you need to make any changes, you can click go back to modify. You can make any changes to any part of the application, and all your information is going to be saved in the application, so you can go backwards and forwards. It saves your session, makes it really convenient. Let's say you see a typo or something's not quite right, you can go back and fix it. And then the second to last thing I want to say is if you don't want to file today, you could click save form. What this is going to do is it's going to cause you to download a .obj file. That .obj file you can then upload at a future date, and it'll store the entire session information. So your logo, the specimen, everything is going to be stored, all the dates. You can just click through it. So this is a really good thing. If you're not entirely sure that you want to file today, you could save it and then confer with your colleagues, your friends, or your teammates, and then tomorrow you can go back to the application process and click upload submit. So cool, it's a cool feature. I highly recommend you use it, especially if you're not entirely sure. Just save it as a .obj, save that file, and then it'll save you a lot of time if you want to come back and file at a future date. Now, the very last thing I'm going to say is you have to check this box here. This checkbox points out a couple important things. One is that you will not get any refunds. So if your logo that you uploaded was actually incorrect, too bad. There's no way to fix it. You're gonna have to submit a whole new application and pay a whole new filing fee. So just keep that in mind. There are no refunds. So 275 isn't chump change, so be careful. You want to make sure that you're 100% sure that the design or word mark that you upload or that you type in is correct. The second thing is that, again, there's no confidentiality here. So everything in this application is going to be public as soon as I pay the filing fee. So just keep that in mind. So with all that in mind, the application looks good. We're going to go ahead and click pay submit. And then it's going to take us to a payment page. Okay. In this payment page, we can upload our credit card or Visa information. However, we're going to pay. We're going to prepare and pay for this application. We can store a debit card. We're going to punch in our credit card information in here and then click submit payment. After we hit pay submit, well, it's pretty simple. We're going to get an email. We're also going to be redirected to another page. When we're redirected to that other page, we're going to have the opportunity to download our entire application. I highly encourage you to do that, just to have a copy of the application handy for your records. There's a serial number also. That serial number is probably the most important bit of information, because at any time during the application process, you can go to tsdr.uspto.gov and check on the status of your trademark application. So that serial number is very, very handy. You're also going to get an email. Victoria's going to get an email. Anyone that was in the secondary email addresses is going to get a notification saying, hey, this application was filed. And that email is also going to have a PDF that you can download. So it's not a big deal if you forget to download the PDF from the next page. And again, this is all public, so you're going to be able to access your application at any time by going to tsdr.uspto.gov.